Okay, in the last video we got our sphere moving up and down in the Y dimension, the translate Y, so it kind of gave a very poor simulation of a bounce. A couple of issues we had. Number one, it moved basically through this without really looking like it was bouncing, not really accelerating due to gravity and then bouncing back up. But the other thing was that it didn't squash when it got down to the bottom of the travel, down to the plane. And if you looked really closely, if you happened to catch it, it was actually going through the plane. And in final animation, that's not going to be what we want. So we want to have the ball squash as it gets down to the plane. And that's why we left our scale X, Y, and Z channels open. So in this video we're going to go in and we're going to take care of that squash down at the bottom, and we're going to leave it unsquashed up at the top. So we're going to need 3 keyframes, and the ones at the top are going to be scaled to 1, which is 100%. The one at the bottom is going to have the Y scaled down to less than 100%. So from top to bottom it's going to be shorter. And then the X and Z, which are around the sides, are going to be bigger. And we're just going to do that. With some numbers I've worked out. Maya does have these volumetric calculators that you can go in and do things in a very precise way if you're dealing with some sort of simulations where you need to do that. We don't really need to do that. Just so that it looks reasonable in a sort of eyeball fashion is just fine. So let's get to it. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is set keyframes at 1 and 24. So we'll move it to 1 here and come in and select the scale X, Y, and Z and right click and then key selected. There they are. Move the slider to frame 24. They're still selected, so right click, key selected. Okay, now we need one in the middle, so we'll go to frame 12, and like I said, these are going to be different, so we'll come up here and we'll set the Y, that's going to be 0.6, and then I'm going to right click and key selected. Now we need to change the X and Z, and I said that was going to be 1.291. And that's, it's in the ballpark. It'll work. So scale Z, 1.291. You can do these individually or click one, left click one, hold down the control key and grab the next one, and then right click and choose key selected. So there they are. Okay, so now we've got our squash keyframe set. And there's our animation. Yeah, it's squashing, but it's not really ready for prime time. The problem is, you see right here, we haven't quite gotten to the ground yet, and it's already squashing. Well, you can say, well, it's cringing in anticipation of hitting the ground, but that won't fly in most cases. Move it ahead here a little bit, and there it is. That's good. And now on the way back up, it comes back up to unsquash, but maybe it takes a little bit too much time. It's symmetrical, you can see in the front and the back side. Well, we can do this a couple of ways. We can come here to a keyframe just before the sphere hits the plane and change it and make a keyframe for that, and move it one previous to that and make a keyframe for that, and have all these keyframes, maybe even wind up with one keyframe for every frame. And there are times when you do need to set a number of keyframes, but there's another way to do it. Even if you're going to set a lot of keyframes, there's another way that's much more precise and easier actually to use once you get used to it, and lets you actually have much more control and flexibility over how all this works. And that is something called the graph editor. And it's a real powerful tool, and we're going to spend a lot of time talking about that. In fact, that's going to be the main topic of the next chapter. So we're done for now, and be sure to save your scene, and we'll see you in the next one.